Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. I would say this is probably the earliest recorded Isaac, not in terms of day, but in terms of time, in like at least, let's say 3 years. It's 9:07 a.m. on a Sunday. My evolution into suburban dad is now complete. I set my alarm for 9:30 when I went to bed last night. I woke up at 7:45 a.m. and then was like, I want to get out of bed right now, but let's just leave it till 8. And then I left it till 8, and I felt ready to go, so here we are. As mentioned, it is a Sunday. I'm sure you've got many questions for me. Namely, NL, did you watch Hamilton? I did. I also tweeted about Hamilton, where I said, what the heck, this show's amazing, which is my honest opinion of it as a play. I didn't realize I was wading into American political discourse by enjoying a piece of media, but you know that it happens from time to time. It's not the first time it's happened, and I'm sure it certainly won't be the last. Here's what I'll say. I think on a media level, Hannibal is, I mean, I'm not much of a, I don't have a huge base in theater, you know? I mentioned in the last Isaac episode is my, you know, intention maybe to some extent to get a little bit more into theater, at least as it becomes more accessible. I've seen a lot of symphonies. I've seen a few ballets. Seen a few operas. That's one that I probably, to be honest with you, wouldn't really... If I had to choose, like... And, you know, we don't have to. So really, I'm choosing to choose a least favorite artistic medium. I would say the opera's pretty close. Like, I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen any of the famous operas. Like, I haven't seen the Barber of Seville. Oh, God. What's going on in this room, dude? It's... Why are none of the enemies dying? We should be fine here. It's just a little scary with all the champions around. You know what I mean? But I've seen. I forget what the opera was, but I tell the story often. Let's tell it again. I had just returned from Iceland, which is I think like a 10-hour time difference or an 8-hour time difference from Vancouver, and Kate was playing in an opera as part of the pit orchestra, right? So like literally the day after I came back, the opera starts at like 8 p.m. I'm already jet lagged. My brain thinks it's 4 a.m. And then it's like a 3-hour long French opera about the Catholic Church. And I was just like, I was in my seat and I was being polite by not falling asleep, but impolite by having my head roll back constantly, like I was drowsing off and I couldn't stop myself. I probably shouldn't let that, you know, determine my whole opinion about opera, but this is just to give you some backstory. At least in the ballet, like I'm still one of those guys for sure that like when I watch a ballet, I enjoy it, to be honest, but it's way less about like the art form of dance and way more like, man, these guys are really strong. Man, these ladies are really flexible. Like how the heck are they doing that? Like I watch it on the same way like I watch figure skating during the Olympics. Like it's no... There's no art in it for me yet. I haven't gotten to that level. It's much more like, am I dying, by the way? Did I forget how to play Isaac? Why are all these rooms so scary, so harrowing? But, yeah, I can appreciate it on that level, at least. With the opera, I'm just like... And look, I hate to say it, maybe you're watching this, you're an opera singer, it takes an incredible, or even just, no, I did it to myself too. Or maybe just a big opera fan. I don't mean to insult the whole medium, because it's not even a genre, it's a whole medium. But, the songs, are not in English, which is fine, you know. I've been known to listen to some world music in my time. But secondarily, If you look, like, the songs are 9 minutes long each, and if you look at the lyrics translated, there's 2 lines. It's like, come to dinner with me, I will not come to dinner with you. Come to dinner with me, I will not come to dinner with you. And then repeat that for 8 minutes. And then at the end, people lose their minds. They stand up and cheer and go, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, look, I'm being a little too negative. Suffice it to say, that's just to illustrate my background in theater, which is nearly 0. But I gotta say, the Hamilton musical on Disney Plus, you gotta have some mercy on me. I don't post in the podcast subreddits where we decide how we're gonna feel about this stuff in advance. I just watched it and gave my honest opinion. That it's as a work of art, amazing. Not like trying to think of how I wanted to. There were times when I was watching it that I felt the same way when I watched Avengers Endgame, where I was A, like, entertained, and B, also like, man, the amount of like work that went into this is just staggering. It's like a mega project. Anyway, I would encourage you to watch it for yourself. It was an enjoyable time. We'll start with Sackhead. This will be a great time for us to beat the system and still get a deal with the devil in spite of myself. And, well, that doesn't matter too much. We do have Charm of the Vampire, so losing a couple of red hearts is not that bad. I mean, in fact, we pretty much can just roll this run. You know, I don't want to sound like it's a guaranteed success, but to some extent, this is a pretty classic setup, you know? And that helps out a lot, don't get me wrong. Even if the deal with the devil ends up being garbage, it still gives us a much better chance of getting, like, 1 extra deal with the devil overall. I'm gonna take this because we have PhD available, but I'm not gonna take the pill yet. I also realize that Hamilton, you know, part of the criticism about it is that it kind of, well, not kind of, to a large extent glosses over the fact that, you know, pretty much everybody involved with the as a character owned slaves. Not to sugarcoat it, but I also wonder if some of the negative reaction to it is not because there was such an unbelievable positive reaction to it when it first, you know, it was at a level of cultural nascence. Like when, I can always relate to it, because when I was a kid, now it turns out I ended up on the right side of history accidentally here, but only recently. As a kid, I read the first Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, as it's called in Canada, or as it was called in Canada originally, at least. And after I finished it, I was like, this is right as it came out. I was like, it's pretty good, but I don't really know if I feel the need to continue with this. And then it exploded, and everybody was like, this is one of the greatest young adult book franchises of all time. I'm not saying it's not, by the way. That might be, that's tangential to the point that I'm making here. But anyway, as a result of that, my original neutral take, where I was kind of like, yeah, this is okay, but I'm not sure if it's for me. Keep in mind, by the way, I was like 10 years old, so, like, have mercy. But, my original take of, it's okay, became, I hate this, and part of my personality is now standing against it. And, I almost wonder if that didn't happen to some extent, with Hamilton as well, but I don't know. I did get a tweet, and you're probably watching this video. I mean, no offense by this, but somebody, so many range upgrades, did say, yeah, the musical's great, but don't start standing our founding fathers. They did a bunch of bad stuff. Yeah, I know. I'm, you know, almost 32 years old. I've read Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. I'm familiar. Like, trust me, I am capable of holding 2 competing, potentially dichotomous thoughts in my head simultaneously. One being like, hey, the actor that played Thomas Jefferson did an amazing job, and having that not develop in my head into, I bet that Thomas Jefferson was like a really cool guy who never did anything wrong. I don't think so. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. I had a really good day off yesterday, actually. Let's let's grab this, just to be safe. Oh, you know what? We got the PhD. We might as well grab this. It wasn't amazing, but that's okay. And hold on, hold on. It's been so long. We spent so long on this floor. I don't know what we're doing with our item room anymore. Was there like a reroll machine in there? There was not. I'm happy with what we got. Anyway, I also watched. I'm very happy, by the way. It's hard to judge someone for their movie tastes. Well, you know what? I'm gonna stop there. I'm not gonna allow myself to be cyberbullied here. I chose to watch Ford versus Ferrari. Why did I choose to watch Ford versus Ferrari? Because we pay for the movie channels, and it just came out on the movie channels. So I watched it on demand, and you know what? DanGiesling.com/movies gave Ford versus Ferrari a rare, in his words, 10 out of 10. I would not give it a 10 out of 10, but I definitely left that movie being like, this is very, very good. I know that it's kind of like, I don't know if this is a coined term yet that I might be lifting from somebody, but it's kind of like a dad movie, if that makes sense. Like a movie about sport that stars two great actors. But it's kind of like, you sort of know where it's gonna go, if that makes sense. But it's really good. I kind of felt like that movie got done dirty because of the fact that it got nominated for Best Picture against, you know, Parasite and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, both movies that are, I mean, I would say better, but certainly also more exciting in just their concept. People were like, Ford versus Ferrari is dadcore. Yeah, but you know, like, it's still good. Steely Dan is dad rock. That doesn't mean it's not good. I think we gotta change the definition of dad rock as well. My dad does not like Steely Dan in particular. I'm not saying Steely Dan is not dad forward or dad friendly, because I do think that they, you know, appeal to... I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say they have a unique, like, male appeal to their music. However, I mean, they were popular in the 1970s, right? So, if you were in the 1970s, it might even be better to call it, like, grandpa core. But, my dad does not like the jazz, you know, syncopation of a Steely Dan. My dad is more of like a John Mayer, James Blunt sort of guy. And I'm kind of like, I'm leaving him out in the lurch by choosing like two of the more disliked artists that he listens to. He listens to a lot of great stuff as well, but this is, for the purposes of my point, I have to sell out my own father. I apologize. I think something could be dadcore and not be looked down upon. I think we're in for a dadcore renaissance. Let me just put my point that way. When we start throwing out movies like Ford versus Ferrari, just because of the fact that they got a little middle-aged appeal, I think we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You may disagree. I don't know. I didn't intend to come into this video and be so contentious. But anyway, I don't know. I didn't think it was a 10. I'd put it at like an 8. Solid 8. Had a good time watching it. Found myself compelled. Could have been playing Mahjong while playing it, but decided not to. I was like, this deserves my some of my full attention. It is weird watching like a normal piece of media though, after watching so much Dark over the past couple of weeks. Every time I like see a character on the screen, I'm like, wait a minute, who is that? Kate's like, it's the main character. You've seen him 50 times? And I'm like, yeah, but like, what's he up to? And they're like, he's eating at a diner. Nothing unusual. And I'm like, yeah, but what does it mean? Was there like a shape in the eggs? Was there a Mobius strip in the eggs? This bit's going nowhere. Anyway, but yeah, it was a good Saturday, good Friday. I mean, it wasn't Good Friday, but you know what I mean. The Friday was good. It wasn't Good Friday. It's actually the 4th of July instead. Which we do not celebrate here. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's celebrated in Canada by Americans who live here. But no fireworks this year. Usually, I would say, like, well, I mean, really, Vancouver's a pretty fireworks-forward city. Got a lot of fireworks. We even have, like, a festival of fireworks that happens every August that got canceled this year due to COVID, which makes sense. But I didn't hear any last night. I was a little surprised. I thought maybe there would be some, but I guess there weren't for Canada Day either. So if anything, I would have just been offended. It's hard to believe we're in July. It's been a very strange year, obviously. That was a great natural segue. I felt like that was a pre-written natural segue. How about that? We'll take Charged, baby. Now, the unfortunate part is I have no idea where to go from there. Hey. Good to know, at least. It's not like, I made the segue and I was like, now this is my time to make a great joke about how, you know, long this year is. Nope, not really. It's just, it felt like a natural segue and then it died. If you'll allow me, I am going to bounce out of this floor. Because I think we got a good pace. We could really use any stats related to our damage. Those are unlikely to come in the rest of the rooms. I know you're like, this is doing the little things wrong, NL. It might be doing the little things wrong. Or alternatively, maybe you've just never seen the little things done this right before. You ever think about that? That's what I thought. No. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey. Ring around the rosy. Sorry, that's my unique enjoyment of horror movie trailers that rely on minor key versions of popular children's nursery rhymes. Ring around the rosy. Coming this January. So I've posited, by the way, the downtown Vancouver movie theater opened up. That's the context for this. I posed the question recently, hey, when Canadian movie theaters open up, what the heck are they going to play? Because American movie distributors are not going to release new movies as long as the theaters in the US aren't open. Which I'm not, like, offended by. You know, I get it. They do have 10 times our population. I had my answer, because the downtown theater in Vancouver opened, and I just looked out of curiosity. I was like, what are they playing? The answer is, they're playing last winter and, like, early January and February's movies before the virus hit, which is, I think, the worst possible option. So this weekend, they were playing The Invisible Man, which I heard is pretty good, actually, but also has been available on demand since March. The Vin Diesel movie Bloodshot, which is apparently not very well liked, which is a real shocker. Nothing against Vin Diesel. I understand, NL, don't insult him. He's both a jock and a gamer. I support that. I'm more like, I just like movies that are good, which is a problem sometimes. He has gotten some of my pocket money. As a middle schooler, I did go see Triple X, The Rise of Xander Cage, or whatever the heck the first one is called, in theaters. I think we want this for now. They were playing, some of them were playing Sonic, like some of the local theaters, but I don't believe the downtown theater was playing Sonic. They were also playing, like, Knives Out, but I'm like, these are... Look, don't get me wrong, I like Knives Out a lot. It's probably one of my top 5 favorite movies from last year. However, I was also like, it's just kind of a weird time to bring a movie back. Like, if a movie's 10 years old, and you put it in the... I get, by the way, that this is kind of like, you know... They're making these solutions ad hoc. It's not like this is something that they want to do, but... you know, if a movie's like 10 years old and it comes back to theaters, you're like, yeah, you know what? It would be really fun for us to go see the original Avengers in theaters or something like that. Or it would be really fun to go see The Dark Knight in theaters again and remember what that was like. or Inception or something like that. I get these are all like very in my demo choices, but I mean, when you're talking about major motion picture releases, I think those are some of the biggest ones, you know, in the last 15 years that could do well on re-release. But you know, that there's an amount of time there that you're like, that's worth it. I can, you know, get this. I can enjoy this again. Knives Out came out in November. Is, you know, it's at that weird point where, you know, it's still so early that you're like, I don't want to see this again. I'm gonna pay to see this again. Like, I don't. Maybe you disagree, but Knives Out's kind of a bad example because it is a little bit of a mystery that, you know, I'm not gonna say it doesn't warrant a rewatch. However, some of the enjoyment, I imagine, is muted on a rewatch. By the way, while I was, I forget what I was doing, actually. It was a couple of days ago. I think I was taking the garbage down. Not that it's relevant, but I had a theory on culture and fashion and movies and music and media and trends, okay? My opinion right now is that I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. It's not a touchy subject, but I just want to be taken with some specificity here. People talk about how everything comes in waves, you know, and everything comes back. So, you know, when I was a kid in the early 1990s to mid 1990s, everybody was wearing neon, like vinyl rain breakers or windbreakers and stuff like that all the time. Everybody kind of looked like Jerry Seinfeld, like they were wearing like sweatshirts and white New Balances, at least where I grew up. And then in the year 2000, I looked back on that, even as a child, I looked back on that 1990s fashion and went, what the heck are they doing? They look like fools. Meanwhile, everybody in 2000 was wearing, I mean, it was a complicated time. There was people who looked like they were out of the Matrix. There were like bubblegum pop, Teen Idol, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera types. It was a dichotomous time. Apparently, that's the word of the day for trends. And then in 2010, people were wearing shutter shades and jeans so tight you could, you know, see people's veins. Where you saw the veins is something that you can fill in for yourself. And, you know, we would look back on that Matrix fashion and be like, what the heck are you doing? You look like fools. But so here's what I think here's my hypothesis, and I definitely am not so braggadocious or self-unaware enough to believe that this is actually universally believed. However, just hear me out here. I think that the most reviled trends are trends that are 10 years old, roughly. What do I mean by this? Well, I think that when something is... just walk through it. Like, let's walk through, like, shutter shades, okay? Or skinny jeans, or, trying to think of, you know, man buns or something like that, which is still happening as we speak. I think that as it's happening, it goes through a curve similar to like adopting a new piece of technology. There's early adopters, there's some pushback, and then finally it reaches some kind of like level of cultural ubiquity because Chris Hemsworth had a man bun in a movie or something like that, and then all of a sudden you see them everywhere, and then they start to taper off, right? But in the first few years that they're tapering off, when you see them, you don't go like, what is this guy, a time traveler? It's just a dude wearing a hairstyle that is still contemporary, although possibly losing some of its popularity to some extent. But by the time you hit 10 years, that's when you're not evaluating it. And I recognize, by the way, I'm not an anthropologist. I'm just doing my best. This is an important room, too. Like, roughly 10 years out, when you see someone... you know, wearing something that's like a decade-old trend, you recognize in your heart of hearts that it's like, it's kind of a step out of time. But it's still so early in that trend's lifestyle, or life cycle, I should say, that it's not an ironic wear anymore, you know? Instead of readopting the trend, it's most likely to be someone who has merely just never... They were like, I'm wearing skinny jeans, I'm never changing. By the way, I have no idea what denim fashion is like now. I've been wearing like the same roughly $30 jeans for a long time. Well, like a year, because you're gonna be like, that's contentious with what you said earlier, which is, you know, you go through jeans very quickly. When I was buying somewhat expensive jeans, they broke all the time. I went to our version of Ross, Dress for Less, bought 3 pairs of jeans that were like 30 bucks each, and they've been holding together like crazy. I don't know what the deal is, but you get what you don't pay for in this situation. I'm not saying they don't look as nice as the nice jeans, let me be clear, but I'm at the point where I have less reason to impress and more reason to just not accidentally, you know, sit down at a restaurant and have my jeans rip and, you know, my bare thighs flapping around in the wind for everybody to see. Anyway. Where was I going with this? So here's and yeah, I think we'll just take it. I mean, this is like, we're very weak on this run in the sense that we really do lack damage. But apart from that, everything's pretty sweet. We're very hard to kill. And we did want that Eternal Heart now. I'm kind of waiting on the health upgrade. I think we can maybe pop that a little later. But so I think you reach peak disgust or cynicism with a trend roughly 10 years after it's happened, if that makes sense. So like in 2010, if I saw someone wearing a long leather trench coat and tiny sunglasses like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, I would be like, buddy, what year is it? Like, this is insane. I wouldn't say that to their face, but you know, in my head I'd be like, buddy, what year is it? Now, if I saw somebody dressed like they were coming from The Matrix, I'm being 100% sincere when I say this. My first hunch would not be, what year is it? I would be like, oh my god, they're coming back. It would not be this person holding on to that trend for too long. It would be like, I knew it. I knew that neo fashion was coming back. And I think the same kind of holds true for, I don't know if I say for movies. I'm undecided there. But I think for music, for sure. 10 years is kind of like... It also depends how old you are, to be honest. Like, I think that changes your perspective on things. Like, when I was 16, if the radio played a song that came out when I was 12, I was like, why are they playing this old song? But that was also when, you know... I mean, when I was 16, when we learned about, like, World War II, I was like, that happened 500 years ago. Logically, you know, no it didn't. It happened at the time, like 60 years ago. However, in my head, I was like, this might as well be in another universe, right? Help me, help me. No, we're fine, we're fine. This would be a great floor to actually get either an angel deal or a devil deal that has some kind of offensive utility, though. That would go a long way. Anyway, that's my theory on cultural revulsion, at least when it comes to fashion trends. I don't make these things up on the fly. This is like, my brain does this. And I think everybody's brain has idle thoughts like this. I don't know. I'm the only fool, either brave or stupid enough to bring them up. And then... Because really, like, part of the job of being a streamer... I believe this, by the way. Part of the job of being a streamer is to make your chat feel smarter than you. So you really get... And this is very nice for us. And I'll be honest, I think we do want maybe... Just one of these is kind of good enough for now. But I think you have the job or the role or the responsibility to sometimes say, like, dumb theories you have about inconsequential stuff, and then let 5,000 people who presently have access to Wikipedia and the internet, and hey, by the way, I have a degree in fashion design, and what you're saying is totally wrong. I think that's your responsibility as the streamer to some extent, is to be like, hey, here's my baseless thoughts on this, because I'm being very careful with the way I word this, because I know there are some streamers who are like, here's my thoughts on, like, you know, American history, based on what I learned in 9th grade only. And I'm like, hey, you should read some non-textbooks. You might get a different picture, you know? Or like, here's my thoughts on the coronavirus. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that, you know, guy who's great at battle royales is also an epidemiologist. I didn't realize that there was overlap like that, but apparently I'm the one who's mistaken. Why are you booing me? I'm right, etc., etc. But in terms of, like, non-consequential entertainment stuff, I consider that to be my role. Is sometimes to be like, hey, you know, I'm not an expert. Here's my layperson's opinion, and then just get absolutely destroyed. The only thing that tilts me is when people are non-committal about taking a stand in disagreement. When instead of disagreeing with, like, a piece of evidence or even, like, their own opinion, they just type, like, NL ... I'm like, I get it. You want to be seen as right, but you don't know exactly why I'm wrong. You just want to make sure that you're in the chat log as, like, look, I refuse to let this idiocy stand. Anyway, we're moving on here. The run is still very good. It could use, you know, a little damage. Or, like, a lot of damage. Unlimited bombs is pretty nice. Yo, Demon Baby triggers Prism as well. That's kind of cool. But anyway, that's... Help me. That's my opinion on fashion. That's also why I feel like, you know, once you hit that 10-year... that 10-year trend Revulsion window, everything from that point onwards is just upwards, you know? It's all gravy. That's why I genuinely think, to some extent, Matrix fashion is coming back. In the 2000s, at least in Canada, people think we're a denim country. In the year 2000, we were a leather country. Everybody was rocking, like, tight leather jackets that made them look like they drove a motorcycle, even when they were driving a 1998 Ford Taurus. And then, definitely, we've moved on, you know? I think in 2010, roughly, people were wearing a lot of wool. Guys were wearing long wool pea coats and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, now it's almost like it's a little bit more athleisure. I'm not a fashion guy, by the way. These are just my observations. I'm still wearing a baseball jacket like Larry David that says Canada on the back. But it seems there's a lot of, you know, like Arc'teryx, North Face, like outdoor gear, even though, you know, you're like, I'm an app developer. But I'm telling you, I think the leather's coming back. There are some fashion trends I'm not sure if I ever see coming back, but to be honest, I would have thought that one of them was fanny packs, but Malf's been telling me that fanny packs are kind of back. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. And then John Wick unzips his fanny pack and pulls out like a Willy Pete grenade. I don't know why John Wick has a white phosphorus grenade. We had like 9 Explosivo shots in a row there, when all I needed was one normal shot. And then we just needed one Explosivo, but this guy's not, he hasn't done it. Okay, please. Explosivo, I don't know, it's kind of, it's great because we need damage one way or the other, but our actual, like, our actual killing time is kind of hampered on occasion. Such a damage-poor run. We got lucky to get what we got. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this subject. Do you agree, disagree? Doesn't really matter. Just like to get the people going, give them something to talk about, you know what I mean? Don't really have anything more anecdotally from yesterday. Just kind of enjoyed a nice day off, honestly. Played a little Trackmania. Again, the monetization model of Trackmania is something that rubs people the wrong way. I don't think it's exploitative. Like when we talk about exploitative models, I really think about like when the Culling said they were going to come back and the game was going to be $7.50, but you had to buy tokens to play in rounds. But don't worry, if you won a round, you got your next round free. I was like, you're bringing back like that 1980s arcade model where, you know, it's 25 cents a game? Let me know how that works out for you. I really do think there's a little bit of a fallacy in the way people interpret the game industry as well. I believe, and if you're in this photo and you don't like it, I apologize, but, you know, I've been around for a while here. We're like a decade into whatever the heck this career is, and I think that there is a fallacy for some people to think that the worse a monetization model is, the more exploitative it is, the more likely it is to succeed. I definitely think that is super wrong. What I do think is that, because like everybody made fun of the Culling for its new model, and nobody was like, I gotta go check that out, you know? Hold on, is there a way down here? There's not, so please just let me out of this cursed room. Guess we don't have to move away from the bombs, now that I think about it. What I do think is that every time you make your monetization model a little... I'm just going to say the way I feel about it, and I can walk it back later if I feel like it, but every time you make it a little scummier, you do alienate probably a large swath of people. However, in some situations, economically, it may come out in the wash or even benefit you because the people that stick around are going to be disproportionately milked. So for the Culling, I definitely would not suggest, and it hasn't happened yet, so maybe I'd be proved wrong, but the game didn't succeed as a $15 game, and then it didn't succeed as a free-to-play game with microtransactions. So there's, in my head, there's no world in which combining the two is the thing that actually makes it possible for that game to pop. But I could be wrong. But, you know, I think in some situations, like, clearly is working for NBA 2K. Why does it work for NBA 2K? Well, I'm gonna... Oh, you know what? We should be blowing ourselves up here. I think it works for NBA 2K. You're not gonna like what I'm about to say, maybe, but because from everything that I hear, the game is actually extremely good. So a smaller proportion of people get alienated by the terrible microtransaction model that basically makes you think you're in an online casino, except unlike a real casino, which is still dangerous, but at least you're earning money. In this one, you're earning basketball players you can basically only use for 1 year until the new game comes out. I mean, you can use them longer, but come on. You're really going to put $400 into NBA 2K18 and you're not going to buy 2K19 for $60? I don't buy it. But I definitely think there are some people just... I think they have a cynical mindset that's like, well, if we've got to stop publishers from making games $400 because people are just going to buy them if they make them $400. I don't think so. I think you're... You know, they're making calculated decisions with their bottom lines, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. It's not defending the companies at all. In fact, like, I really think that Culling monetization model got deservedly mocked, but it was less like stop trying to exploit players and more like, you're really like this, you think this is your way? You're like, hey, we can't get enough people to play our game. What if we charge them for it every time they played around? It doesn't even make any sense. You know who I got a bone to pick with? Restaurants that don't allow free refills of the soda fountain. I will pay $2 for a fountain drink, okay? It's only worth, on a materials level, 4 cents. You know, there's 4 cents of syrup or something in every cup. And then, you know, the rent of the place and the maintenance of it. I don't know what my cut of that would be as one customer out of tens of thousands. But don't get me wrong. I'm okay with paying into the margins for soda, which I understand is also a good way for restaurants to, you know, make some money when the margins in the business are pretty slim to begin with. But you're really not going to allow free refills? Come on. At that point, people have already... How many sodas does somebody have to drink from the fountain in order to make it so you don't break even on soda? It just seems kind of... I'll just say it. It seems kind of rude to me. Like, at that point, why not just charge for water, too? Like, the water that comes out of the tap... I don't know, every glass of it is probably like 2 cents. Well, sir, if we just gave you free water at this restaurant, what's to stop you from just sitting here and drinking a bunch of water and putting us out of business? I don't know, my stomach only being able to hold like 2 liters of matter at any given time? Me being a human being who has other responsibilities and needs to, you know, go do other stuff to maintain the processes of life, both economic and metabolic. Look, I'm not gonna say no to going to a restaurant because it doesn't offer free refills, but I was at, Kate and I got some takeout lunch yesterday, and I noticed that on the fountain, they had taped a sign that said refills are $1. I'm not gonna hate on a small business, don't get me wrong, but I'm also like, really? So let me get this, instead of me walking over there, filling up my cup, I've already paid you like, you know, $7 for some kind of bougie hot dog. Instead of me just walking over there and being a satisfied customer who's not thirsty anymore, what you want me to do instead is get back in line, go to the front. You know, it might take 5 minutes, get to the front. Hello. I would like a refill on my drink, please. They'll go, okay, that's $1. And I'll go, hey, it's 2020, by the way, so on credit, please? And they'll be like, okay, fine. And then now we're going through a 30-second electronic transaction, which the Visa Corporation will take probably like 10% of because it's such a small transaction to begin with. And then, you know, 17 cents out of that $1 on top of that goes to the Canadian government to pay for your corporate tax, not to mention your GST on top of that. And then, you know, at the end of the day, basically, you've put us both through an inconvenience to add like 3 cents to your bottom line that's actually spendable. I just don't understand. There's one way I'll respect it, which is that if they don't want people getting refills at all, but recognize that it being an option is still something. So what they've done is just put a sign on the thing that is like, hey, refills are $1, and then people will get out of the restaurant faster because they're like, well, if I could get a refill, I might stay and just hang out for a while because the neighborhood's kind of nice, but because refills are $1, I'm going to get the heck out of here. I respect that in some ways, but I'm also like, at the same time, you don't need to give people like a drink to get them to stay. I've been at restaurants, people just sit there, like, look at their phone for an hour in a nice chair. So we are not going to fight Mega Satan. Just because we have 4.42 damage. We have a lot of bombs. Like, I think I would give myself, like, a 95% chance to beat Mega Satan. However, I don't think the time is right. Because I think we have a 100% chance to beat this floor. If we got like a nice damage upgrade in the next couple of rooms, I would definitely consider it at least. Anyway, that's my thoughts on non-free refills. You might, I will say there's a lot of counter arguments to this. One of them is no human being should be consuming that much soda. I definitely actually agree. For sure. However, I'm also like, that shouldn't, I don't know, like if you're gonna, again, you shouldn't have had 0, or you shouldn't have had any ounces to begin with, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to avoid this fallacy I've seen a lot of during quarantine, which is like, well, if a preventative measure isn't going to be perfect, I might as well not do it at all. Which is idiotic, but still something that surprisingly large percentage of people seem to believe innately within themselves. But yeah, a lot of soda's worse for you than a little bit of soda. But I'm like, hey, if I've already made the decision to drink a little bit of soda, you know, who are you to charge me $1 for doubling it? Alright, when you put it that way, it sounds a little bit... Look, it's a long episode. Like I said, it's only 9:52 a.m. right now. I didn't come into this episode expecting to have to defend my principles, and so many of them. Like, this has been a landmark episode in terms of the number of theories and stuff brought up. We have not been in danger at all throughout the whole run, and yet simultaneously it's like the slowest run I've ever seen. That's a little exaggeration, but still. Like, come on. Come on. Get out of here. It's taking forever, dude. We're like a third of the way through the floor here. Anyway. Look, all I'm going to say, if I opened up a restaurant, I would have, well, depending on the restaurant, I would have free refills. The only way I wouldn't have free refills is if we served, you know, the canned sodas. Because you know, economically, I get it, a soda fountain, very cheap. The cans, a little bit more expensive per unit price, so I understand, even though I would be annoyed perhaps slightly. Where am I going with this? I don't know. This is just the random neurological firings towards the end of an Isaac run. Especially one with such such weird parameters on it. Like, the run is great, but it's bad, but, you know, we're not in danger. We're, like, unkillable completely. Mostly because of Pyromaniac, if it ever came to that. Every room that passes, we get closer and closer to the light of being done. So anyway, yeah, this is a really roundabout way of saying that I woke up early today. It's nice. I like waking up early enough to appreciate the day, you know? I know there's a spirit heart back there. Have mercy. Feels like you can get... I like my day... The older I get, the more I like it when my day resembles what it was like when I was, like, 5 years old. I really think, like, my dream in like a retirement scenario is to just live every day like the way you would live a day, well, like, more like a week. Live every week the way you lived during, like, summer vacations when you were 9 years old. Summer vacations when I was 15, not really. I don't think that's, like, that's if I'm like an 80-year-old dude and I'm like, today I'm gonna play 14 hours of an online video game. I would probably be like, that doesn't strike me as being a where I want to be in my life at that time. If you're enjoying it, don't get me wrong. You're 80. Live your life. But I don't think it's for me. But when you're like, you know, 8, you wake up early, you have a nice little breakfast, watch a little television leisurely, go, like, just spend some time outside. I don't know. Just go sit in the garden, read the newspaper. Then, like, once a week, have, like, some kind of hobby that you do. You know, oh, it's your painting class tonight, Ryan. Yes, sweetie. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!